Governor, great to see you.
Great to see you, Marianne.
Thank you for this opportunity. And I guess we have to start with what's going on across the country as well as in Illinois right now. What do you see your role as the governor of Illinois with the Trump administration?
Well, let me start with or without the Trump administration, my role is to protect the people of Illinois, to raise their standard of living, to make life better for Illinois families, and to grow this state. And that's what we've been doing. Now, we have a challenge ahead because the new president clearly wants to attack places like Illinois, where he didn't win the election. And it's going to be challenging for working families across our state, for the most vulnerable across our state, and across the country. And so my job is to stand up for what is the law of Illinois, to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make life more affordable, to protect people from having their rights taken away. That's my job. And his job should be to follow the law. And I would expect that he would, but already he has proposed something that's unconstitutional and other things that I think are really bad for working families.
And what you're referring, I'm sure, to birthright citizenship?
Indeed, and also the tariffs that he wants to impose that are just going to raise prices for families.
Let's just go back just a second, though, about how it'll impact Illinois. How will your budget be impacted? Because what I understand is some state agencies have already been told, hey, that federal money that you had last year, you're not going to get it this year.
Well, that's not true yet. We haven't been notified that things that we were getting last year won't come. We expect it, however, that there are things that will be under attack. For example, Donald Trump for many years has been trying to get rid of the expansion of health care, right? The Obamacare, as you know it, the ACA. And it is truly a challenge for hundreds of thousands of people that they might have their health care taken away by this new federal administration. So this is a problem, right? It's not something that the state of Illinois cannot fill in the billions of dollars that come with Medicaid coverage, where 50% of it is covered by the federal government. We just can't. We don't have those dollars. So if that is something that he does, that takes away health care from people in the state of Illinois, it is Donald Trump that is ruining the opportunity for people to live healthy lives in our state.
Might the red line extension be impacted?
Well, we'll see. That money was awarded. He has announced that he's freezing, the awards that were made. Having said that, those were done under the prior administration. Everything that was necessary to make that happen has been done. And so it's just a question of whether Donald Trump is going to stand in the way. There will be lawsuits if he does. We certainly know that the federal government owes us that money now. And again, Donald Trump may break the law because he's known to do that. And we're going to have to take him to court if he does.
Who is your contact? Who is your call at D.C. where you say, help? I mean, you certainly had many in the Biden administration. Mm-hmm. Who's your person now that you say, who are we going to deal with on all of this?
Well, let's start with the new Trump administration and people in his administration. They haven't called us to connect with us. We're one of the 50 states that he represents and serves, and I would expect that they too would reach out to us. In terms of, if we need to lobby the administration for something, there are plenty of people that are in the state of Illinois, business people, for example, who supported Donald Trump, who we know, and who want to do what's best for the state of Illinois. And so we'll work with his allies that are in our state to get done what we need.
You're confident that that Illinois is not going to miss out because of this difficult relationship you and Trump personally have?
That shouldn't be the case. I mean, if Donald Trump decides that he wants to punish people or states, right, which is not something that presidents do. You didn't see Joe Biden do that. There were plenty of opportunities to do that. He didn't, right? He delivered things for red states as well as blue states. But Donald Trump may not be that even-handed. In fact, Donald Trump, again, over and over demonstrates that he'll do whatever's in his own best interests, whatever's in the best interests of his wealthy allies, and not necessarily in the interests of ordinary, everyday families in our state.
Let's talk about yesterday, the events that took place in Elon Musk. You've said that Elon Musk should apologize. However, the ADL does not see it as a Nazi salute. What is the difference of what you see and what you think the ADL sees?
Well, anybody that watches that video saw him do it not once, but twice. And even if it was inadvertent, it's a clear, symbol and gesture that everybody knows. You would have recognized it. I recognized it. Anybody that studied history recognizes it. I guarantee Elon Musk knew what it was. He may have mistakenly done it. And by the way, people make mistakes. He should apologize. And President Trump should call it out too. It was his rally. These are people who were on stage because he asked them to be. And he should say something about it, denounce it. And again, that's something simple for each one of them to do. Neither one has done it.
Have you been as outspoken when members of the CTU have also expressed anti-Semitic remarks?
Oh, I have spoken out. I mean, they know, and I have spoken directly with members of the CTU whenever there has been something said that was anti-Semitic. Look, I call out racism, any kind of attack on people, at people's ethnicity, their background, etc. It's uncalled for. It's inappropriate. It shouldn't happen. And as you know, I'm somebody who helped and led the building of a Holocaust museum. So this is something that matters deeply to me, protecting our people from that kind of discrimination. So yes, I've called it out and I always will.
On deportations, you have said you're going to have to come through me. What does that mean?
It wasn't on deportations. I know that was misinterpreted by people. It was broadly about people's rights. Yeah, it includes, the issue of people's immigration rights being taken away. But it also includes their reproductive rights. It also includes attacks on people with disabilities, which we were celebrating a victory for here in the state this morning, but could get taken away at the federal level. These are all things that we as a state need to stand up for, push back, whether it's going to court, whether it's speaking out about these things, or passing our own laws to protect people.
What are your concerns as far as ICE? What might happen? Have you gotten any kind of intel for folks to be prepared?
Yeah, we've done a lot to begin with to make sure that people know their rights. Lots of people didn't already know their rights. They didn't know, for example, that we have a law in the state of Illinois that allows somebody who's undocumented to put their children, who are citizens perhaps or documented, in the custody of or guardianship of someone else. We have laws that allow them to do that while they go through an immigration process. We've done a lot, I think, to make sure that we're speaking out about these issues so the federal government understands what the laws are in the state of Illinois. Our law enforcement are not coordinating with ICE officials, for example, and again, what they're coordinating on is they are coordinating on violent criminals who've been convicted, who are undocumented. As far as I'm concerned, we need to give them over to ICE and they should be deported. That's the law, by the way, of the United States. We also want to make sure that, for someone gets pulled over for speeding and they get a ticket, that they're not arrested because they're undocumented simply for getting a speeding ticket. That's not something a law enforcement officer should do.
What if a law enforcement agency, or perhaps a county sheriff, McHenry, has been more willing to say they would be helpful? What about those police agencies that might help ICE? Would they face some kind of violation of state law?
Yeah, they better not break the law. These are law enforcement officers. They shouldn't break the law. We will go after them. The Attorney General will. We have the ability to make sure that those people are punished if they're breaking the law. The law enforcement officers, we don't expect them to. We think they're going to follow the law. Even the sheriff said he's going to follow the law, but he's upset because he feels like his hands are tied. Here's what I want. I want criminals off the streets. I want law enforcement officers to do their job and make sure that they arrest people that are committing crimes. But undocumented people who are actually law-abiding, who are holding down jobs, they shouldn't be arrested simply because they're undocumented.
Have you and the mayor spoken about the possibility of ICE raids, and how did that conversation go?
We really haven't. I mean, he called me on my birthday, which was very nice, and wished me a happy birthday. And I, of course, mentioned that I knew that, we were preparing, that he was preparing. But I've spoken directly with law enforcement in the state of Illinois, not just the Illinois State Police, but also the Chicago Police Department, to make sure that everybody is operating properly in an environment in which Donald Trump is trying to scare our communities. By the way, this is bad for our economy, what Donald Trump is doing, and I saw it firsthand when I was walking around on Martin Luther King Day in Little Village. You could see the restaurants were relatively empty, and when I asked the owners why on a day off that people aren't in the restaurants enjoying themselves, they said because people are staying home, they're afraid. And so I want to encourage people to go patronize those restaurants and in that way stand up for the communities that are most under duress right now because of Donald Trump.
So your relationship with the mayor hasn't had a huge fallout over the hemp legislation?
Well, I've told the mayor that he mishandled it, that whenever you're going to come to my house, come to Springfield, and you want to lobby against a piece of legislation, which, by the way, was the wrong position to take, because we're trying to protect children. Whenever you do that, you should call me ahead of time. We can have a conversation about what should we change? What is it that you'd like to see? Maybe we'll end up disagreeing, in which case, he has every right to go talk to people. But don't come into my house and talk to the people that I work with. I don't do that, and try to convince them to work against something that's a priority for me. I didn't do that when the mayor was trying to pass a budget for the city of Chicago, which I didn't think was the right budget. I didn't like many of the provisions, but I didn't go lobby the members of the city council against the mayor, and I certainly didn't make public my opposition. I expressed, nevertheless, to people in his administration what my opinions were.
Did the mayor and perhaps Speaker Welch and others, did they put their donors above the legislation?
Look, I think that all I can say is that there are a lot of people who accept contributions from special interests and are swayed by them. I can't tell you whether that's something that I don't think that that's what the speaker was doing. I can tell you that when organizations spread money around in Springfield, it's because they want to get their way. And so there are people who, of course, are on their side. Intoxicating hemp is dangerous for children and adults. It needs to be regulated. And that organization, the Hemp Association, is working against the safety of the people of Illinois. I will stand against them every time if that's what they're for.
So as the mayor has said, he needs more state money to help his financial crisis with the schools. If I were the mayor instead of me, what would you say to him now about those financial needs?
Well, don't try to get it with hemp, with intoxicating hemp. That's the one thing I'd say. If you need resources, you should, of course, talk to people in Springfield. He doesn't do that enough. His relationships are not very close with people. And even when he came down last spring to talk to us, did not ask for anything while he was there. Look, we want what he wants, which is to make sure that our schools are well funded across the state of Illinois. We share that in common. We don't always have all the resources that are necessary to get that done, but every year that I've been in office, I've increased funding for education. More than $2 billion more is going into our public education system because of the work that I've done. And so do we need more? Of course we do. We have, in fact, a law on the books that has us increasing state funding every single year. We're doing it. So for them to claim, for people who want us to increase funding, to claim that we owe $1 billion is kind of disingenuous. They know that we're all trying very hard to get the resources that we need to put them into schools.
So if you do run for a third term, what's the upside?
You want me to evaluate the ups and downs of, why would I run or not run? Look, you've heard me say this, and I believe it. I really do love the job. I love being able to wake up in the morning and know that I can protect people in the state of Illinois, that we can advance their cause, that we can make their lives easier and better. And we've done that for the last 6 years. The upside is we get to continue those policies, we get to advance that cause. There's so much more to do. There's no doubt about it. We have a lot more to do. I also really believe in fiscal responsibility, and every year I've made sure we've had balanced budgets, we've gotten credit upgrades, we have more to do. Our credit rating has been increasing, and I want it to increase even more. Why? Because it saves money in the long run for the taxpayers, and it's the right thing to do. So I believe that, if I were to continue in the job, that's something that would continue to be a priority for
Will
me.
this difficult budget that you're likely to face, will that perhaps be one of the factors? I mean, Could that impact your legacy, that you're going to have a perhaps more difficult time getting a budget through this time?
Look, one of the reasons that this is a great job, and the reason that I like the job, is it's challenging. You want to say budgets this year is the challenging thing, sure, but every year I've been in office, we've had to fight a fight to get things done for people, right? Last year we were fighting to expand healthcare, to make sure that we were getting rid of prior authorizations for mental health. That was a big deal. People hadn't been able to do that. I combined all of the downstate fire and police pensions after 75 years of people trying to do that. We got that done. It's good for the firefighters and the police officers. It's good for the state of Illinois. It was hard to do, but we got it done. It's one of the reasons I love if the job wasn't so challenging, I probably wouldn't like it so much.
So those who are looking and possibly thinking about running for president, whether it's you or someone else, do the Democrats have to move more to the center?
You know, people have been saying that since the election, but that's not what happened in this election. There were a lot of things that are quite unusual, and I'll just point to, we had an incumbent president who decided to run for re-election and then decided not to run for re-election after you couldn't have any primaries anymore. And so all of a sudden you had the vice president, who really wasn't that well known by people, as the candidate, and she had 108 days to run a campaign. That's nothing. I can tell you, because I ran for governor, it took about a year and a half from the start of my running to winning the November election to run that campaign. People didn't know me to start out, but they did at the end. And it's a primary process, particularly, that really helped me get to know people and have them get to know me. It's why I won. We have to have a good, solid primary process. And we didn't have that in 2024 for president. And that's really why we were challenged in the November elections.
One last one. I'm getting the feeling, yes. All right. So you've just turned 60. Happy birthday. Welcome to the 60s. And new decade, new priorities. You're not part of the AARP just yet, but what about that? Do you have a new list of priorities, wish list?
Because I'm old now? Is that what you're saying?
Not as old as I am, so
well,
you're in good shape.
Mary Ann, you look better than I do. How about that? I had a lovely birthday. Thank you for wishing me a happy birthday. I wouldn't say they're new priorities. I will say that that, as you know, as you get older, as you have more experience in life, and you look back and you think about what is the legacy that you want to leave behind, whether you're a governor or just in a career or raising a family, what is the legacy that you want to leave behind? And so, yeah, when you have a milestone birthday, you think about that, and I think you will know what the things are that I believe. I'm trying to carry them out as governor, and those are the things that I think are a legacy about putting Illinois back in solid financial, fiscal position, making sure that we're lifting people up, making their lives better, protecting people's rights, which often had not been before I was governor, and being transparent about all of it, and being somebody who carries out my beliefs, and nobody's going to buy my position on something. This is what I believe I carry out, and do what I can to make sure that we're addressing the real challenges people face.
Governor, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Ann.
Appreciate it.